Hi, so the mixture I have chosen to use for this lab is the garden soil and salt, and the techniques of separation I will be using are, well, it's a series of steps. There's distillation, filtration, and then evaporation. So first things first, for this distillation, I'm going to add water to the mixture. And this is because the salt is soluble in the water, but the garden soil isn't. So salt will dissolve in the water, making it easier to separate. So the next step is filtration, and I'm going to be using a paper towel as a filter. However, I'm going to double up on it because sometimes it can be awkward. Alright, good enough. So now we're going to pour the mixture through, and the paper towel will act as a filter, and the water, the salt water, will filter through. However, the soil will be caught by the filter and left behind, therefore separating them. And there's a lot of soil left at the bottom, so let's break all that out. So now I'm going to move some of the soil around on the filter just to make sure all the water really gets through. So here we see that the soil has been separated and caught in the filter. And now if we remove the filter, so here we have the remaining salt water, and I'm squeezing this just to get the rest of it out. So this is the salt water, and I'm assuming there's coloration due to the fact that the soil had finer particles in it that ended up getting dissolved in the water as well. So now the next step is going to be the evaporation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this salt water solution and I'm going to put it in this pan. So I've taken the salt water and I've poured it in a pan, and now what I'm going to do is heat it on the gas so that way the water evaporates, and hypothetically the salt crystals should be left over as a result of the evaporation, therefore separating the salt and the water, which therefore separates the salt from the garden soil. So the salt water has heated up enough to the point where the water is starting to evaporate, and hopefully with some time all of the water will evaporate and we'll be left with the salt. Okay, so I made a slight mistake. I left the salt water to heat up on stove for a little too long because I left it unattended and went to the other room for a bit and came back, and then it was kind of in this state. However, these are the salt crystals. This is the salt that was mixed with the garden soil acid. So we have our salt and we have our garden soil. It's a little crispy and cooked, but here we have our two components, the soil and then the salt.